What you doing?
Making music. Is
that it?
This is episode 7 of Why Music. It took 6 whole episodes just to understand one note.
Well, at least let me join you.
Sure.
No, this isn't working.
You could sing a different note?
But what note?
Oh! I just found out about harmonics. Basically every note has higher notes inside of it. So like this, it would be like...
No, that wouldn't work. It's too high and it's really far from your note.
Huh.
What's the thing you said about multiplying or dividing a note by 2?
Multiplying the fundamental, or any note, by some power of 2 always gives you the same note, just at a different register.
So what if we take the third harmonic, divide it by 2, drop it down a register, then it will be super close to your note. What do you say?
Perfect. Hey, that was awesome.
Woo! Oh, this came for you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, well, Herman asks, why consonants?
What is consonance? All it means is just notes that sound good together. But here's an example. We're going to have a bottom note and a top note, and hopefully they'll sound good together. The bottom note will be 1 times F. And F is a variable. You can plug in any bass frequency that you're working with, usually the fundamental of anything that you're playing. And whatever the consonance is, we're going to want it to be somewhere between 1F and 2F, because doubling or halving a note gives you the same note. The color and character is not changed. The only thing that is changed is the register. So it's the same note up or down a register. Now the consonants can be expressed as a fraction. On the top is some integer, and on the bottom, a lot of the time, is just a power of 2. The top is whatever harmonic it corresponds with, and the bottom just brings it down a few registers so it's between 1 and 2. The note that we sang was 3 halves because it's the third harmonic drops down 1 register. But we're not in the business of what. Cool, we know what is consonance now, but why consonants? And there's 2 ways to think about it. On this guitar, I've tuned 2 strings to have a specific relationship. The bottom one is 98 hertz. Now 98 is going to be our F, our variable. We're basing everything else off of 98 hertz. Now the next string up is going to have a frequency of 3 halves of 98 hertz. So 3 over 2 times 98 hertz. That is 147 hertz. But you could just express both of these strings as 1F and 3 halves of F, F being 98. This is the consonants that we've been talking about so far in this video. There's a cool thing that you can do on guitar to isolate any harmonic that you want. So the fundamental of any string is just one big wave moving up and down, and its biggest point, its antinode, is in the exact middle of the string. I could put my finger down just really gently at the exact midpoint of the string, and that would stop the fundamental from being able to play. The loudest note would be whichever harmonic has a node at the midpoint. It just so happens that the second harmonic does have a node at the midpoint. That's how to isolate the second harmonic of any string. And you can use this exact same technique, but just at the 1/3 mark to give you the third harmonic. That's kind of neat. And that's one of the things that's so cool about this consonance. The third harmonic of the low string is the exact same as the second harmonic of the high string. These 2 notes have overtones in common that play in unison whenever you hear them together. They're in perfect harmony. So that's one way of looking at it. Another way has to do with the superposition that we were talking about last episode. A superposition is a combination of waves. So if you had two waves that were the exact same frequency and phase and everything, then the superposition would be a wave of that exact frequency, but just louder. The consonants we've been talking about has a ratio of 2 to 3. So every 2 waves of the lower note, there's 3 waves of the higher note. The superposition of 2 waves with that ratio of frequencies, it looks okay. It's not as simple as a sine wave, but still, it's a pattern. It's got its shape that repeats every so often. Compare that to a completely irrational ratio, like 2 to 2.62. And there's no pattern, there's no repeating. Well, it repeats eventually, but I would be scrolling for ages. Only consonant intervals have these simple superpositions. So there's another way of looking at it. You want simple ratios, so that the superpositions going into your ear have easy repeating patterns. So a consonant interval can be expressed as a fraction. And consonant intervals are nice for 2 reasons. First, their harmonics line up. And second, their ratios are simple and combine easily. Now, these may be 2 reasons, but they are whatever the opposite of mutually exclusive is. Mutually inclusive. Basically, you can't have a consonant that fulfills one and doesn't fulfill the other. The lower these 2 numbers are, the louder the harmonics will be, and the simpler the ratio will be. So, why consonants? Well, music is time math. And apparently, on all fronts, music really likes simple fractions. While we're here, let's name some consonances. We can't keep saying 3/2 every single time we talk about that interval. So the first one is pretty easy. Both 1 and 2 are just the tonic. That's what we call it, tonic, because it is the primary tone. Tone, tonic. There we go. The one that we've been talking about this episode, 3/2, besides the tonic, it is the most important consonants. It is the dominant consonants. Dominant, there we go. That's what this one's called, dominant. The next one, it would be 4, but that's just 2 times 2. That's a power of 2. We skip those. The next one is 5. In order to get that between 1 and 2, we do 5/4. And 5/4 is 1 1/5. That's 1.2, so 1.2. 3/2 is 1.5. So even though it is over here in the order of how consonant it is, in the order of what the pitch actually is, it will be over here. It is between the tonic and the dominant, between mediant. That's what we call it. We call it the mediant because it's between the tonic and the dominant. The next one would be 6, but if we wanted to get 6 between 1 and 2, it would be 6/4, and that just reduces to 3/2. We've already done that one. Moving on. 7. In order to get 7 between 1 and 2, it would be 7 divided by 4, and this one is kind of a stretch. 7, it's a pretty high harmonic, pretty quiet harmonic, and not a very simple ratio. But there we go, 7, that's the 7th. Now you'd think, since the 7th is already pretty much a stretch, the next one, which is 9, we skip over 8, that's just another power of 2. The next one, which is 9, which is just 3 times 3, would also be a stretch. It's even higher than 7, it's even less consonant, right? Well, here's one thing. 3 times 3 over 2 times 2 times 2, that's 9/8. Watch this. So sure, 9/8 has a pretty strenuous grasp on the tonic, on 1 or 2, but it also is consonant with 3/2. It is the dominant of the dominant. So it has become more important than the 7th because it is consonant not just with the tonic, but with 2 very consonant notes. This one is called, this is the first one that I'm making up. All the other ones have actual official names that I've used. This one I am calling the super dominant because it is the dominant of the dominant. So there you have it, folks. Imagine that there's 2 3s here. This is a bunch of consonances named in order of how consonant they are. Thanks for watching. You know the drill. Smash that like, subscribe.
But also, if you have any questions about music theory, about acoustics, about the future of the channel, anything really, leave a comment. I want to collect all your questions and try to answer them in future videos.